गुड आफ्टरनून इंडिया एंड वेलकम टू गनर शॉट. गनर शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है. At the outset, I'm very sorry that I had to postpone this by 30 minutes at the last minute, just because Rama said Ramakrishnan. Uh, I got this news, sir. Request delay by 30 minutes. PM speaking. I didn't know that. I had just come back from whatever I was doing outside, and I quickly put this on, and then he said this is that, so I went and saw it because I thought that factoring whatever our PM spoke is important, right? And I got a hang of it, and we'll discuss it. What do you see on the 23rd day? Re-escalation taking place. That's the thing, and then you're gonna get into a sort of a crisis of sorts. Today, the Chinese stock market dropped hell of a lot, one third from what it was dropping as of when you look at it from this beginning. One day, one third. And I think someone has mentioned this also. So this situation is going bad. Overall situation is going bad. Let's be very clear about it. Okay. And it before I get into what's happening there, everything, I'd like to recap what our Prime Minister said and what's there for India, because that to me is more critical than anything else. He's very clearly said India is in a stable position. It's not we are not in a flap. And his demeanor while he addressed everyone was quite confident. And that look, we are doing the right thing, we are doing everything correct. Don't worry. I think that positive message came out. The body language. I look at the body language. He's warned of disruption, there's no doubt. But he said, look, as far as petrol and diesel is concerned, we are okay. And we are okay for many reasons. I'll touch on this immediately. And gas, we're going to have a problem. So be it. We have to tackle it. And he's mentioned how he's tackling it. So I'll not go into it. We're going to have a problem. We'll tackle it. As simple as that. How we'll tackle it, let the government do it. वो तो पूरा government है, मैं कौन हूँ? But petrol is something which I must tell you. The Ukrainian attacks on Russia have crippled the Russian holding capacity and refining capacity. Both. Okay. The Middle Eastern refining capacity and holding capacity and producing capacity has gone. Petrol and diesel, I'm talking. Venezuelan capacity, no one can use. Only India. So we don't have production, but we have refining capacity. So you will become important to refine. Will become very important to refine. So petrol and diesel, I'm not too worried. Because you'll become important to refine, people will give you gas. People will give you gas. Yeah, costs and all will bear. We'll see how that whole story goes. I don't foresee any major shortage. There will be periodic shortage, delays, ये वो. थोड़ा हिट तो लेना पड़ेगा. बाकी countries में look, Sri Lanka, it's gone to 25% up prices. It's going to go up. Okay, so we're going to have a problem. Though Russia has told Sri Lanka we'll give you petrol and ये वो, but believe you me, Russia is also crippled at this point of time. They have not recovered out of what they got a hit from Ukraine. Okay, so hard times are ahead. That's what our Prime Minister said. And he said, I'm trying to resolve the issue. Which I said yesterday, we spoke, what should India do? Mediate. We have the goodwill of so many countries. Let's use it. But, okay. And the nation needs to be united. He's worried about diaspora safety. So far, no one has gone this thing. He's also spoken 3.75 lakhs we've extracted from there. The rest are there. I'm sure things will work out. If one odd guy has a casualty, well, it's like this. Very importantly, he has said from the floor of the parliament, he's mentioned everywhere. He's also spoken to Iran president, which I spoke yesterday, and said strikes on oil flow through Hormuz is not correct. He's called them out. Right? And he says, let's stop this whole story because it doesn't help anyone. Okay. Uh, and it's not an India crisis, it's a global crisis. So, but in this, he's also made a point that we are well prepared. And we have faced a similar situation earlier in COVID. Okay. And then he's given this thrust on solar. Okay. Let's go solar pumps. Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, that's what I was mentioning yesterday also in the evening. Right? It's coming. And farmers, help for farmers. It has to come because this is the sowing season. Kharif season is going to come up. Monsoons are coming. And if farmers don't get help, we're done. And remember, we are a food surplus nation. So, food security, we have oil security, we have problem of gas, energy, part, not all. Electricity, there's no problem. Coal, we have adequate, so we can tide over the crisis. So, overall, net, we are not in a problem. Can we support everyone else is the issue, and there's a thing. Can we mediate is the issue? That's the thing. So let's move ahead. It roughly aligns with what I was mentioning yesterday. Those of you who have not seen it, go back. What does India have to do to tide over the crisis? That's what I spoke yesterday. I wish I had spoken it a day later. Then I would have included what the Prime Minister said and put it together with my thoughts. But my thoughts are not far away from what he said. These are logical. It's not illogical. I'm not saying हमने भविष्यवाणी किया कि प्रधानमंत्री क्या बोलेगा. No, he said the right thing. And when you go logically, that's what is to be done. Yeah, some things here and there will happen. Fine. We can criticize our prime minister to kingdoms come as a democracy. And there'll be idiots who will do so, but this is not the time. We can criticize him later. All of us have to stand together. That's the most important thing. Okay, now let me go ahead. Today, what I'm going to do with the rest of the time, it might be a little long. I'm not going to speak too much. I'm going to let the clips speak because there are pretty important clips which I got. Right, I need to put that across. Okay, well, let's first start with the headlines. What does the headlines thought? What do the headlines say? Okay, the headlines of New York Times. It says Israel thought it could spur rebellion. It's not been able to. Right, inside Iran, that is. But one thing for sure, Israel has penetrated Iran because they are still killing the leaders at will. So, to that extent, Iran is a divided society still. It's a porous society. You might say the who's standing united within that? It's the IRGC and the army and the theology. The rest of the people are not fully behind. Remember that. If this level of knocking off leaders goes to a particular threshold, critical threshold, you might see this regime collapse. And one of the things about all these, fancy regimes is it doesn't take long to collapse when the collapse happens. So don't rule that out. Don't think that, Iran can't collapse. Iran is at risk of collapse. Okay, of course, there's a thing, Israel's missile defense is under scrutiny after Iranian attack. Well, they're now dealing with missiles which probably cannot be defended against beyond a point. Yesterday also, in fact, day before during General Saxena's talk, we did touch on this. But let me also put it the other way around. If Iran has started using these heavy missiles, long-range missiles, and cluster bombs and MIRVs, the lower-end missiles are virtually useless, or they don't have many. You don't go graduate there, don't escalate there. If you can do with this, that's the thing. Okay. Tehran is defiant after Trump threatens power plant. Wow, this is a great escalation. Trump has said next 48 hours, out of which 24 hours has gone, another 24 hours. If the Strait of Hormuz doesn't close, I'll bomb the power plants. And what has Iran said? You bomb the power plants, we will take your desalination plants out and power plants off of every area, thing, all countries. So Tehran has gone on a tangent. What started as a fight against Israel and USA has now become a fight between Iran and the rest of the Arab countries. So, like I said, politically, Iran is not playing it smart at this point. But do they have a choice? They don't have a choice. Now this response is military response, a bit without brains. Okay, I don't. I mean, that's their choice what they do. But let's see how what they do. Okay, then of course this Washington Post has spoken about the build up for troops, right? That I'm sure by now their what's that? USS Tripoli has come into Djibouti, and Djibouti they have a base, remember, and the other one Boxer and all that are going to come from California. They should be in the next 7, 8, 10 days. I mean, whichever. Now, where will they be applied? You know, okay. So Washington Post talks of a battle for Hormuz, but what will they attack in Hormuz? That's what I said. What maximum they can do to open up? Uh, you know, this has to be leveraged. How much leverage they'll get out of this, we'll see. I am not clear as to where they're going to go so far. Right. And then it says why Iran does not appear ready to be to give in despite losses. Well, it's taken a stand. That's it. It's drawn a line in the sand and said, I will not take. It doesn't matter what losses I get. I'll say. Right. So, and Joe Kent, who was the chap who resigned, he says he wants Trump to hear MAGA opposition to Iran war. So even within MAGA there are voices. So within Iran there are voices. I mean, not within USA there are voices against this war. Natural. Okay. What does Al Jazeera say? It says Iran vows to completely close Hormuz Strait if US attacks power plants. How will they do it? Beyond what they're doing, we don't know. They will not let anyone go, but that is a self goal. Okay, that's a self goal. So we'll leave it at that. Now I want to reiterate this map to everyone so that everyone sees this. Iran, Iraq, Syria, Kuwait, Jordan, Lebanon, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and Oman, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan. Just get that map because people tend to lose. Yeah. And then we'll talk. The Iranians are not prepared to negotiate. And I'm going to show you this clip, which I showed yesterday, but I think in the context of today, it's important because this is where we have to start. Iranians have simply closed down their hatch and they say, look, I'm not interested in negotiating. Listen to him when he says so.
Finally accepted. But again, after 3 rounds, I don't think the question of talking with Americans or negotiation with Americans once again would be on the table because we have a very bitter experience of talking with Americans. We negotiated with them last year in last June, and they attacked us in the middle of negotiations. And again this year, they tried to convince us that this time is different. They promised us that they don't have any intention to attack us. And they wanted to resolve Iran's nuclear question peacefully and to find a negotiated solution, and we finally accepted. But again, after 3 rounds of negotiation, and after the American team in the negotiation, said itself that we made a big progress, still they decided to attack us. So I don't think talking with Americans anymore would be on our agenda anymore.
Yeah, so it's a very fair thing, which what on this point at least what Iran is saying. We were speaking to them when they started this war. We had agreed to all their, fundamentally they had agreed to almost all things. But the US view is that the Iranians always lie, right? And Iranians are buying time by saying we'll agree to everything and then they'll rescind later on. He says, look, we agreed to everything, and despite when we were talking, they started this war. So what's the point of talking? There's no trust. Trust is zero. So at this stage, one thing is very clear. You need an outside agent to let them start mediating. And this I mentioned everything very clearly. Now this escalation, it is not just it's not Trump alone who's doing all this. Please understand, within USA there is a segment who wants this war to continue to its ultimate finish. Okay, now Senator Ted Cruz, he's come out with it. He said, I'm the one who suggested to Trump to continue. Okay, let's hear that. You have to understand it is just not Trump going bonkers. Trump is consulting people, and people are telling him don't let go. So there's a constituency and a powerful constituency within the US who says we should take this to its logical conclusion, whatever that logical conclusion is. So let's hear Ted Cruz.
You noted I was with him pretty much the entire day on Friday before the attack launched on Saturday. And so we were on Air Force One. We were flying down to Texas to Corpus Christi at a big event planned in Corpus Christi. So I was on the plane with him. And then he asked me to hop in the Beast, the presidential limo, and it was just the two of us one-on-one. And pretty much the whole time he was asking me what I thought we should do on Iran. And I said, look, I think we should not miss this moment. I think the regime is weaker than it ever has been. And we have an opportunity. If we can collapse this regime, America will be much, much safer. There are very few things on planet Earth that would do more to improve American national security as much as seeing this regime collapse. And he asked me in the Beast, he said, well, look, do you think we should negotiate further? And I said, no. I said, I don't believe they're negotiating in good faith. They are liars.
So look at it. There is one lobby within America who's saying we don't want to negotiate further with Iran. And they are advising the president, and the president is taking their advice. Right?
It's been obliterated, and they're running out of money. So here's what I tell President Trump. Keep it up for a few more weeks. Take Carg Island, where all of the resources they have to produce oil. Control that island. Let this regime die on a vine. We got 2 Marine expeditionary units sailing to this island. We did Iwo Jima. We can do this. The Marines, my money is always on the Marines. I don't know if you take the island or you blockade the island, but I know this. The day we control that island, this regime, this terrorist regime, has been weakened. It will die on a vine. And here's what I want to do. I want to get with Chris. I want to sprint to peace. As the war winds down, I want peace to ramp up.
So this fellow, he says, I want to take, Carg Island. I mean, he's a typical politician. He doesn't even know what Carg Island is involved. And there are today people from America who are telling what I say. And in fact, what I discussed with Sandeep Unithan, sorry. Sandeep was saying, oh, we'll take Carg Island. How will you take Carg Island? You can't take Carg Island, like that. It's well defended, first and foremost. You have to first take Strait of Hormuz and then go to Carg Island. And today, people are saying what Rajiv Narayanan and General Dushyant Singh discussed last week. People are now saying, no, we can't take Strait of Hormuz also. I also believe you can't take Strait of Hormuz with whatever forces US can bring at this point of time. They can take, maybe after a year if they build up. Today, they're not organized for it. They're not organized for it. They might have the forces, but the forces have to be organized. They're not. They're not staged forward. Stage management is not done. So taking all this, what I said is, you can take the small islands, start controlling, but it won't be risk-free. That's a different plan. We'll see which plan comes out. I might be completely wrong, and America might do what it wants. And we'll discuss that. You see, war is such that you cannot think for anyone else except yourself. You might think anything, but the other guy will do something else because his mind is something else. He's got his game plan, I got my game plan. So the range of game plans is what we're going to discuss. Okay. Now with all this, I found an excellent briefing in Fox, right, by a retired general of US Army. Go through it. Like I said, today is going to be a long sessions of others speaking, not me speaking, because you have to get the whole idea. What is the thinking today in USA? This is I'll show you against also what in Farid Zakaria's show. Let's first listen to what Fox News says.
Thank you, Shan.
Okay, so this is a look at some of the recent attacks the U.S. and Israel has been carrying out, and the president with a new threat saying, listen, we're going to start going after power plants that are very important for Iran if they don't reopen the strait. He says that may be coming as soon as Monday.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really interesting development. I mean, what this basically exhibits is that this is starting to escalate a little bit in terms of the types of targets that we're going to be willing to go after inside of Iran to basically hopefully bring an end to the conflict.
So let's go to our next map here. This is looking at the range of missiles. We know that Iran tried to strike Diego Garcia, where we've got a joint base with the UK there. But that's outside of the range that a lot of people believed or assessed to this point that they had. When you start to look at this range, you look at European capitals and others. The whole point was trying to go after their missile program, so it didn't expand. But what does this tell you, this attempt on Diego Garcia?
Yeah, so this was a bit of surprise to some. Some people feared that this is exactly the type of capability that Iran had developed. But if you look at the range from Iran to Diego Garcia, this is 2,400 nautical miles. This is about double the range that most people believed that they were capable of achieving. It not only brings Diego Garcia into the mix for a place that they could potentially try to strike, but as you indicated, all of Western Europe, our bases, our personnel there, it also sends a message to the leaders.
So far, he has not said anything new which I didn't cover yesterday. Remember that. All this, what he's talking, it's only, it looks better. After all, their Fox News has got a lot of money to give graphics. I don't have. I just showed you on maps. He said the same thing what I have said. That brings me to an important point. You guys, all of you who are listening, please understand. Those bloody generals are not better than us. We know exactly what we are talking. You're coming to a professional show. No general there is better than us. We are as good as them. I'm not saying that, we are better than them. No, I'll not talk that way. But we are as good as them. As far as India is concerned, we are better than anyone. Right? We are the best India can make. And we've been made by India, all generals. हम आसमान से कूद के जनरल बन के नहीं आए, खून पसीने के बाद आए बने हैं हम. So that is why when I get generals on my show, please understand that our chaps are much, much, much better than anyone else as far as analyzing for India is concerned. He's analyzing for his country, all the best to him. But let's listen.
Allies there, that they may be in Iran's crosshairs as well. This isn't just limited to the Middle East.
And one of the issues was when we were in diplomatic conversations with them is that they said they wouldn't negotiate at all over the missiles. It was going to be just about the nuclear program. So now we can assess that they may have better capabilities than a lot of people thought. Okay, so let's get to the next slide here, because this is where Iran has been targeting energy infrastructure. They've said with the president's threats to act Monday, they also have plans. We've seen them do it, but they say we'll come after other assets that are important for energy production as well.
Yeah, as we talked about at the very beginning of the segment, this really indicates the approach that Iran is taking at this point. They want to go after the energy sector. They want to go after oil. They want to go after natural gas. They believe this is the leverage that they can create globally to help bring an end to the conflict. We can see on the map the areas that they've struck in the last few days. Of particular interest is Qatar, where they went after the natural gas fields there and the facilities. That represents 20% of the global liquefied natural gas capabilities. So the markets responded accordingly, as you would expect. But this ties back into the president's comments. He said at this time, hey, if you don't hit any of Qatar's gas fields, we won't strike any more of yours, Iran. And at that time, it was a little interesting because he specifically zeroed in on gas. I was wondering why that was. I think his comments over the last 24 hours that we're going to take away all their domestic power capability if they don't open the straits feeds into that. Because I think what he didn't want to happen was to undercut his leverage that he wanted to use in the future, and now we're seeing him trying to use that leverage.
I quickly want to talk about Karg Island, which continues to come up because this is that island off Iran's coast where 90% of their energy output flows through this. So we know we've hit some targets on the island, but there's a conversation now that it would take troops for us to actually, quote, take that island.
Yeah, I think that's one option. This is of strategic importance for a lot of reasons. As the slide indicates, 90% of their oil flows through here, but that represents about 60 to 75% of their annual revenue. So if you take the flow of this fuel away from the regime, it really results in economic strangulation, and it's something that can happen very rapidly. Now, how might we go about doing that? There's a couple options the president has. One would be to use our naval assets to form an embargo around the island, to not let any ships come in and unload oil. Another would be to hit on the mainland, the pumping stations and the manifolds where all the pipes from the fields come together that pump oil out to the island to prevent that from happening. We could also hit these these jetties, these mooring points on the east and west side of the island where the ships come in to on-take that oil. Or, as you just mentioned, we could go and try to take physical control of Karg Island by putting troops on the ground. That does not come without risk. Not only are we within about 15 miles of the mainland for any residual offensive capability that Iran might possess, we have to be able to protect our troops. But there's also thousands of civilians still on this island, and there's anywhere from several hundred to maybe more than 1,000 IRGC members there as well, which is going to increase the risk if we decide to take that step.
All right, all things to think through, and for our Commander-in-Chief to weigh. General, great to have you back with us.
Thank you, Shannon.
So it's very clear. He's painted a picture. He says USA doesn't have great options to take Karg Island. So this loose talk of, their own people talking of Karg Island. And this is Fox News. You see that fellow Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz saying, we'll take Karg Island. Karg Island is not your, weekend picnic spot कि वहाँ जाके झंडा लगाओ और beer पियो. नहीं होता. In my way of looking at it, Karg Island is out. If there is an option, hold the home bank of Strait of Hormuz, start interfering with the Iranians and wear them down, hit them, and then you can slowly open. There's a method, we'll discuss it later. Okay, now, after having heard the American dialogue let's hear Farid Zakaria, who has analyzed it the other way. Right? He's analyzed it with the help of two other analysts the other way. So it's two clips I'm going to show it to you. We'll see. Okay? You get a different idea. Like I said, I'm going to let others speak today. Right.
The decision by the U.S. on Friday to pause sanctions on 140 million barrels of Iranian oil that are already at sea, a clear attempt to bring down oil prices. Joining me now is Edward Fishman, Senior Fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations, former State Department official, and author of the excellent book, Choke Points, American Power in the Age of Economic Warfare. Feels like we are literally watching a chapter from your book play itself out. So explain to us, this is the most bizarre thing. The United States is waging war against Iran. It is trying to deprive it of all the resources it can get. And now it has essentially issued a waiver to all the sanctions, which would give Iran 10 times as much money as the Obama nuclear deal gave Iran. Why is it doing this?
It really is a remarkable development, and it shows that Iran's strategy, which has been to retaliate by waging war on the global economy, by showing the world that it can control the Strait of Hormuz and can push up oil prices over $100 a barrel or even more, that it can actually get the Trump administration to do wild things, right? 2 weeks ago, we saw them ease sanctions on Russia, and now on Iran. The thing I worry about this, Fareed, Iran now has gotten more sanctions relief from closing the Strait of Hormuz for a couple weeks than it got for all of the nuclear concessions it made under the Iran nuclear deal. And if you think about the incentive that gives to Iran, it's only going to incentivize them to attack more energy infrastructure, to disrupt shipping even more, to do everything it can to push oil prices up more, to get more concessions from the United States.
So the point is, look, if this escalation, which is on the cards in the next 24 hours, happens, and Trump does hit those, all the power sector of Iran, and Iran retaliates, desalination plants and power sector of the rest of the Gulf. What he says, it will go up. Oil will go up to 200, nahi 300 tak chala jayega. If that happens, boom. Lot of economies will just collapse. You will see political ramifications. When economies collapse in nations, politics change. And we ourselves will be in tremendous pressure. Let me tell you this.
To point out that, we may be just at the beginning of an oil price spiral, because if you look at, somebody pointed this out to me, if you look at Brent crude, that's sort of the paper speculation of people trading. But if you look at what oil is actually selling for, the barrels of oil in Asia, they're selling currently at $160 a barrel. Prices could keep going north, right?
Oh, definitely. It's in some ways it's.
So this is news. I didn't know barrel oil was actually on ground selling at $160. We are already in a red zone. Okay. It can only go worse. That's why you see prices crashing all over. Okay, I'll explain. Someone has asked what's happening in China. I'll explain, but I will do a China evaluation tomorrow. Don't worry.
Surprising that oil prices haven't gone up more. We're around $110 a barrel right now, but you've seen, people who are running businesses, like the CEO of United Airlines, saying they're already preparing for $175 a barrel, which would be by far the all-time record, which was set in 2008, which was $147 a barrel. I think in some ways the markets have been anticipating taco. Trump always chickens out. That basically because the markets have been going haywire, Trump would back down and try to declare victory. The problem was that acronym was created for tariffs. And with tariffs, Trump can unilaterally suspend tariffs just with the stroke of a pen, say these tariffs are off for the next 180 days. With this war, the reason oil prices are high is because the Strait of Hormuz is blocked.
By
who's
Iran,
blocking the Strait of Hormuz?
So very important point is that Trump can't chicken out. Taco won't happen. Very important point, please. He says, look, if that was tariffs, the entire thing of tariffs was in his hands. He could cancel the tariffs and he can chicken out. But here, even if it does that, will Iran go back? No. So there are problems. And this will continue. Okay. He also spoke to a Middle East expert, Farid Zakaria. Hear that also.
Last night, President Trump warned that the U.S. would, quote, hit and obliterate Iran's power plants unless it fully opens the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours. Iran dismissed the ultimatum, with its state media saying Tehran would retaliate against any such attack by striking American infrastructure in the region. I'm joined now by an expert who has studied the Islamic Republic for much of his career. Danny Sintrinowitz served as the head of the Iran branch of Israel's military intelligence. He is now a senior researcher at the Tel Aviv-based Institute for National Security Studies. Danny, welcome. I've been reading your posts. Really, they are mini essays with great interest and appreciation. So let me ask you, what do you make of this situation now where Donald Trump has essentially escalated? But it seems to me he's placed himself in a box because he now something has to happen in 48 hours, and if the Iranians don't do what he's asking, he then has to act. Where does this go?
So very important. Trump has put himself out on a limb. Is it a calculated way of doing it, or is it just like that? We'll have to see. Okay.
First, Farid, thank you for having me on your show, and greetings from Tel Aviv. Definitely, the President Trump tweets highlight the fact that we are approaching a decision point. And for the U.S., unfortunately, we don't have good options, only bad options. President Trump can decide...
So he says we don't have good options, we have only bad options. To a large extent, I agree with him, but to many things, it might not be so. I'm going to give you a complete contra view of this whole situation after this, okay? Listen to him.
Fulfill the ultimatum and attack the Iranian facilities, the infrastructure, but then obviously the Iranians are going to retaliate not only against the infrastructure in the Gulf states, the electricity one, but also, for example, the desalination factories. So we are approaching a severe expansion of the war. Or he can decide not to implement the ultimatum and stop short of this war and declaring win and try to make some sort of an agreement with the current radical Islamic Republic that it's much more radical than it was from the get-go, from the beginning of the war. So actually we are facing a decision point for the president, because Israel will follow the president's decision and will have to decide, and as I mentioned, no easy solutions here.
So you're right, the escalate solution is complicated, and the sort of look for the off-ramp is complicated. But
so that's the point. They have come to a stage, this war is at a stage where escalation is going to be a problem and de-escalation was also going to be a problem. The off-ramp also is going to be a problem. Okay, there are no easy options from here. If there's a re-escalation, the reverberations are going to be huge. Look at it this way. The very fact that you're on a 24-hour deadline and all that made our Prime Minister come to the floor of the Parliament and speak. Okay, it's not simple. It's going to be complicated. Then there's some reaction in China, and everyone knows that Russian refineries are down, and Venezuelan oil refineries only India can refine. We are having a problem with gas, but others have problem with petrol too. Smaller economies will just collapse. Right? So, okay, let's listen to this, because this gives you a view which you have to understand.
Escalate, it does seem to me that what this will produce is inevitably some Iranian retaliation, which is going to then drive the price of energy even further up. So I don't understand the strategy, because if the goal here is to try to open the Strait of Hormuz to lower the price of energy, what you're actually doing has a very substantial chance of raising the price of energy. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. And I think it highlights the fact that, again, this campaign was based on the flawed understanding regarding Iran. President Trump thought that it's like Venezuela. You can threat, you can kill Khamenei, you can find a...
So, he says it's a flawed understanding of Iran. I completely agree with him. If America has done one cardinal mistake in this, they've equated Venezuela with Iran, and that's amply coming out. But then that's surprising. What were the State Department people doing? What are the military guys doing? What was this whole story which they learned of dealing with Iran for so many years doing?
Rodriguez, Iranian Delcy Rodriguez, but at the end of the day, Iran is not Venezuela. And they retaliate. They won't absorb, they won't capitulate in any way or form. So this is a problem that we are facing, that I think the still administration and President Trump do not understand Iran. And this current regime right now is definitely suffering, but he's holding on and thinking with the use of the war of attrition, from the drones and the missiles, he able actually to find himself in a better situation than he was before the war.
So the point is, Iran won't collapse. Iran can't force a decision on USA at any cost. And there's an escape wall for USA. And this is what I'm going to talk to you after this. Not talk, I'll let someone else talk to you after this. You have to understand the bigger picture. And that's playing in Trump's mind. You see, when you go in for a war, you have to be very clear what the end objectives of this war are. If your end objective is some other war which you want to get, to serve that end objective, then you'll do whatever you want to do for this. This doesn't have an end objective which dovetails into that. So, in this, he might be prepared to lose to gain that. Is he doing that? If he does that, well, different story altogether. And that's what there are people within the US who think so. Right? Of course, I also have always been saying that right from day one, Trump's main idea is to get to China strategically. Yeah, I agree with it. But you can get to China only when you finish off Iran or encapsulate Iran. Is that happening? If that doesn't happen, there's a problem. Of course, there are problems between Iran and China. I'll talk of that separately. But given that USA is the common foe, will they unite? China has got many bigger problems than all this. Like I said, I will have to talk about China with you guys separately. And I'll do that tomorrow. Time has come. A notch higher than what I've spoken so far. But what is USA doing? I feel the time has come to find an off-ramp and get off, and then get the larger picture. Because this kind of escalation, I'll take your power grid off, ye nikal dunga, wo nikal dunga. What are you doing? You're only infuriating people. Ultimately, nations are made of people. You want to defeat a nation, you have to defeat its people. Or get the people over. Both are not happening. So I think at this point of time, this escalation is self-defeating for USA. It's self-defeating for Iran also. Iran will not survive this. ये भी बता रहा हूं मैं. But if that is Trump's idea, which I don't think it is, then it's a long-term idea that let the Iran regime survive, whichever, give him victory and then topple him later on. That's a different story. That's the Israeli way of doing things. But is that their thing? I don't think so. Right. Now there's this chap called Victor Hansen. Okay, Victor Hansen. So he's an ideologue. He's a MAGA ideologue. Okay. And 2 days back he put out I wouldn't say he's an ideologue, he's a strategist. Yeah, you hear him. He put out a clip. It's a 10-minute clip. Watch it. It tells you the thinking process which is there. Let me also tell you, I have spoken of this 1 year back. What he is going to speak, the outlines of that I've spoken 1 year back, and I've said this in this past 20 days, I've been talking of this at every stage. This is what the major plan is. He says we will get around Iran, but we will also do something else. The something else is what? China. And he says that nothing will stop us. So listen to him. And then we will talk of this. Okay. And I'll keep interjecting and I'll keep telling you everything in between.
26 looks like it's going to be the most tumultuous, geostrategically significant, and dangerous years since the fall of the Soviet system and the fall of the Berlin Wall.
It's going to be a huge year. I agree with him 100%.
Trump is the catalyst of this. A lot of people, both in his base and his opponents, both here in the United States and abroad, blame him. There are disruptions all over the world, but 3/4 of them are reaching a consensus. I don't know how they're all going to turn out, but there's a good chance they could turn out with the United States in a preeminent position that we haven't seen at least since World War II. Hello, this is Victor Davis Hansen. 2026 looks like it's going to be the most tumultuous, geostrategically significant, and dangerous years since the fall of the Soviet system and the fall of the Berlin Wall. The whole world is in upheaval. Donald Trump is the catalyst of this. A lot of people, both in his base and his opponents, both here in the United States and abroad, blame him. I think a few years ago, one European diplomat said, well, he's a bull in a China shop, only he's a bull in a nuclear China shop. Maybe, maybe not. But let's just review what's taking place right now. For the second time, we're bombing Iran, and this time the negotiations clearly were not going to lead to this 47-year problem resolution. Iran's theocracy has no intention of stopping nuclear proliferation.
So this is the thing. He has very clearly said that Iran's nuclear theocracy has got no intention of stopping this war. Okay? So this negotiation is not going to end this whole story. That's what he says. Okay, let's continue.
The Middle East, to intimidate the petro kingdoms of the Gulf, to show its dominance over Sunni Islam, and to destroy eventually Israel, threaten Europe for blackmail.
Look, whether he wants to threaten Europe, Iran, and blackmail, war and all that, very clearly, Iran wants to control all the Gulf kingdoms. On that, there's no doubt. You see, out of the 8,000 odd missiles so far, or 4,000 or 5,000 missiles which Iran has, fired, only 800 have gone to Israel. The rest have gone on the Gulf kingdoms. So Iran's own ideology and own strategic orientation is something we need to understand. They talk one thing and they're doing something else. They're also not trustworthy. You can't trust the Iranian on this issue. Why are they hitting Saudi Arabia? Why are they hitting Dubai? Why are they just because they hold American bases? So there is a dichotomy in this. Okay, let's go.
Sessions and eventually us. We've known that. Every president, all 7 of them before Trump, said that, and they were going to take care of the problem or prevent it from exacerbating. None did anything. Trump tried to negotiate, take out the nuclear facilities, and then he learned that they were still trying to, after the bombing, restore them, expand their Russia, North Korean, Chinese ballistic missile force, ensure that nobody, they have had such deterrence that nobody would dare attack them again, and Trump did. And this time...
So this is very important. He says all the presidents, 7 presidents before Trump tried negotiating with Iran and failed. All the 7 presidents before Trump also tried to do something about China and failed. Okay. So actually, USA has to blame itself for letting China and Iran develop the way it was. Right? Why? Because USA focused on Afghanistan and Iraq. They didn't focus on the right direction, and they allowed Iran to grow, allowed China to grow. Now Trump is trying to unwind this whole story. And the only way he can do it in the next 2 years is the way he's doing it. Bull in a China shop. When you listen to all this, the whole story comes pat. Because I predicted it based on what he's saying. That's exactly what he's doing. I keep showing that map to all of you.
His plan is to remove either now or so detrite the theocracy that it would erode in the next few months by a popular uprising, or maybe have a Venezuela solution. And barring that, at least make it inert militarily. This follows the...
So he's given 3 options. Either let that regime survive and fall later, or have a Venezuela solution, or let it become inert militarily. So any of these 3 options will give an exit ramp. But it's a political decision. Whether we reach there or not, we'll see. But the guy makes a lot of sense. Okay.
What do we call it? Kidnapping coup. We removed this communist thug, drug lord, shipper of dangerous opiates into the United States, propped up Cuba, and was trying to spread the Chavez communist message throughout Latin America. Looked like he was succeeding under Joe Biden. Now the whole world there is different. Venezuela doesn't have Maduro. It has a strong government in the sense that they will keep order, and maybe they will have transitions to democracy. We hope so, but they are terrified of the United States that removed their government and told them they put the oil on the world market, they reform their economy, they get the Chinese out, and they will have a bright future. This coincides with democratic revolutions in Central America, Chile, maybe Bolivia and Peru. We'll see how those work out. And of course, Argentina. So it's a whole new Latin America.
So it's a whole new Latin America. And that's been crafted already. That's been put in position. We have to understand that. Okay. It's okay. He says they're experiencing Western democracy, all that. You leave that rhetoric out. But the fact is, already Latin America has changed completely. He's only talking of Bolivia, Peru, and all that. But there are issues beyond that.
It's experiencing a westernized constitutional system revolution. And it's been, the catalyst has been Donald Trump. First by telling the Panamanians, we know what you're doing. It's not smart for you to do this, to triangulate with the Chinese. If you do it, we'll take back the canal. And he got results. And the result is...
So Panama has already taken over. That's what he's saying. Look, you have to look at the whole picture which he's painting. Understand that.
And Russia are now excluded from the Western Hemisphere. At the same time, he's pressuring the Cubans. They have no more subsidized oil from Russia. They know that their drugs that they are intermediaries in smuggling and shipping to the U.S. are being blown up on the high seas. There's no more Chavez, Maduro free fuel, and they're innately incompetent and inert economy is imploding, and Trump is basically saying, you saw what happened to Venezuela, you saw what happened to Iran, you're not halfway across the world, you're not down in South America, you're right here 90 miles away from us, and this will be a cakewalk if you don't try to reform and give your people a choice, an economic liberation, a political.
So once Cuba falls, actually he's home and free to deal. If Cuba falls, he's only got two dominors to go, Iran and China. That's the thing.
Liberation, a cultural, social liberation. And it looks like they're going to allow American businessmen, mostly Cuban Americans, to go back in there and invest. If that happens, and you start to see offshore companies, energy development, hotels, tourism, communism will die on the vine. So what am I getting at? I'm getting at that there's a world upheaval that Donald Trump sort of took a fuse and he lit it, and things are blowing up everywhere, and everybody is paranoid and crazy, and they're thinking that he's a disruptor. And then we have the Ukraine war. And he has convinced the Europeans that you have to do two things that they don't understand. You can't buy energy from Russia. Maybe he's lifted that because the Straits of Hormuz are closed temporarily, but you can't subsidize the Russian war machine and then tell the United States that because of your suicidal energy policies, you have to do that, but you also have to have the United States step in and save you. And so we're trying to find a solution, but one of the tacks that Trump is using that's very misunderstood, he's trying to say Putin is a monster. Of course he is. Don't trust him, but I wasn't the one that started this crazy reset. I was the one that got rid of the Wagner Group. I was the one that went after the oligarchs. I was the one that got out of the missile treaty. I was the one that gave offensive weapons to Ukraine, not you. I was the one that warned you about the Nord Stream pipeline. Not you, not Biden. I did. So here, if I'm going to get involved, don't demonize him, because we can weaken him and then we can flip him so that he doesn't go back into Europe, but he also triangulates against China.
So see, there's a plan. Already Mr. Putin is almost flipped against China. So so this entire plan which Victor Davis Hanson is explaining is unrolling in front of our eyes. Actually unrolling. And this is what I've been speaking for the past 1 year.
So what I'm getting at, if that happens, and you see a different government in Cuba, Venezuela, and a tidal wave of reform in Latin America, where at the same time you get rid of the 47-year cancer in the Middle East for which American troops have been based, take away the Iranian theocracy, and there's not going to be 200 bases, 200 installations of Americans in Syria and Iraq. So, and then you add into the combination what Cuba has done to us all these years. It's been a receptacle of American terrorists, hijackers, drug smugglers. At one time, remember, it was going to base nuclear weapons from Russia pointed at us, the Cuban Missile Crisis of '62. It's just been a headache. If you could solve all of those things in 1 year, it would be unheard of. It would.
Right? So he says, look, if all these issues are sorted out, where's the problem? So you see, there's a thought process behind all this. Now, where does America take a off-ramp to say, okay, militarily, Iran is, at this point of time inert, we can get off. Or you cripple it and do a regime change. Are they waiting for the regime change, or are they waiting for the off-ramp? And the off-ramp must come fast, because I don't think after this things will go out of control. It might not be in the control of Trump. That's my thing. Let's see how it goes. We have 24 hours more. Battle hai, dam rakho. This is part of life. Let's see how it goes. I think something will give. And good sense needs to prevail, like what our Prime Minister said. And a lot of people have to keep their fingers crossed. But I reiterate what our Prime Minister said. We're going to have tough times, but we have the wherewithal to move ahead. I'm sure all this we'll discuss today evening in the Ghana site at 8 o'clock. Join us with Sri Iyer and General Raj Shukla and Hari Mohan. I don't know which of them will come, but someone will come. If nothing, I'll be there. Don't worry. We'll talk of something else because this war ain't running away and we need a lot of discussion. I'm going to take some points because there are some interesting points which you have come up and I'll address them. I'll take 5-10 minutes more to address all of them. Okay. I'd like to thank Krishna Kumar Radhakrishnan for becoming a YouTube member. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. So kind of you. And Abhishek Trivedi, thanks a lot. Respected sir, in this area of high-tech war, isn't it necessary for India to secure top-notch satellites dedicated to our defense forces? Navik atomic clock is running. Yeah, Navik is gone. We'll have to look at how to do the whole thing. We need satellites. There's no doubt about it. We can't depend on someone else's satellites. And that's why I said, look, our government might be very good in many things, but it doesn't involve put its money in R&D. It doesn't put its money in the technologies we need. Period. I've spoken about this. In fact, today morning also I put that out. I explained to you what I spoke with Sandeep Punithan. That's how it is. We are living in that. But at the same time, it's not as if we are badly off also. We are okay. We are strong. Don't worry. Don't worry. We are very strong. Look, whole lot of pipe dreams from Vector Davis Hansen. I agree with you. But many of these have been got on ground. He is building a Rosian narrative. The reality is horrible. I agree with you. But largely, Latin America has swung. Okay, Russia is on the horns of a dilemma. Iran, if it falls, Trump is home and free. Even if Iran doesn't fall, he's okay. Even if Iran remains what it is, they're still okay. There are a lot of gains which USA has already got. Like I said, this whole story is at two different planes. It depends on where you are. Yeah. Now this guy Doug, I know he's an American. He's worried. He's got fixed ideas about many things American. I leave it at it. I want to address this thing. Okay. And at some place he said we don't want to mess with China. So you're already pissing away to glory that how you don't want to touch China. So that's the problem with all of you. All of you are not thinking in the same direction. Okay, let's see. I think this Dunham is also from somewhere else. Government has become too tyrannical and Trump flipped from how he was last term to this term as if he sold out to Kushner or something. Well, that's your politics. Take care of it. So the Americans don't have an exit plan. The present war and its subsequent conflagration is likely to continue. Definitely. We'll see how it goes. Yeah. Yeah, thanks a lot. I don't have a guest. I just am getting others. Yeah, that's okay. But how is the weather in Tamil Nadu? It's in good nick. Don't worry. It's nice. Media is saying be one step ahead. Our government is preparing for the long haul. We have to balance it out. 1.4 billion souls to be fed every day. United. There's no doubt about it. Look, food security wise, we are okay. The question is, can you be a net food provider? Security, I'm not bothered. We are okay. Don't worry. Even in the drought years, we've gone okay. 5 years before this, we've had 3 years of droughts. 2017, 18, 19 with drought years. I remember my well at home in Chennai went dry. The Kaveri Delta went dry. We still gave water to our thing and whatever it is, and we have enough buffer stocks. Remember, we are one of the biggest rice exporters. We are one of the biggest milk exporters. That way, food security, I'm not bothered. Like I said, petrol and diesel security, I'm not bothered. Gas. I'm sure the government will do something, but we have a lot of levers by which we can offset this. And like I told you today, the way our Prime Minister spoke, I'm sanguine. Okay, let me see which. Yeah, yeah. It would not be surprising if the Iranian rockets and missiles are giving Israel a right and proper. That's happening. That's happening between the two. I didn't cover that. The Iranians are pasting the Israelis and US are pasting Tehran. Yesterday night they were at it. We'll cover it tomorrow because that outcome, it's an ongoing battle is going on. Remember, at this point of time, somewhere it's breakfast time in Iran and the Middle East. Okay. Oh, let me go to the top because there were some interesting comments which I thought I must handle. Um, let me let me see. Oh, you like my thumbnail? Yeah, I just found it and I made it. Good. What a reassuring message from the PM to the countrymen. I'm glad you thought of it that way, right? And Chinese stock market crashing, develop it. I completely agree with you. The Chinese stock market has taken a nosedive, but so has ours. Remember that. Even ours has taken. Globally, I think many people shake. But there's going to be a different effect on China. And I'll talk of China separately. Because I think it's time I spoke some more about China tomorrow. Okay. The China case is special, right? US is making China and Russia find out, as Trump said, yeah, that's possible. What you're saying, club it with what Victor Davis Hanson said, a lot of things fall in place. Will President Trump be ousted? Out of question, yeah. ये सब छोड़ दो. Nifty fell 500 points. There would be problems but they fell in during COVID time also. That's what our Prime Minister said. They fell, they'll jump back up. Don't worry about it. Even I have some money of mine. My retirement funds are in mutual funds. I see them going down. Yeah, if one feels bad. But that's okay. Don't worry. These things will happen in life. Things will go up and down. You guys are young, so right. Yeah, today it's fallen. As for this, it's fallen down. All are red. Right? They're fallen by 600 points. The world won't end. Huh? Don't worry. And remember, if you're investing in stock, invest that money which you don't need for the next, 6 years. That's how it is. If you need your money in the next 6 to 7 years, don't invest it in stock. Put it in other things. Okay. Pakistan, a leader of Ummah is best suited. ये बेवकूफ की बात मत करो. India is like a best house in a bad neighborhood. Yep, there's no doubt about it. Will the recent attack on Russia's Primorsk oil terminal affect our oil basket equation? To some extent, temporary, but we'll be able to tide over it. It affects their own refineries. That's the thing. That's what I've learned so far. It affects their refining capability. The ability to pump out oil and give it to others won't go back that badly. So far, they are able to export crude, but they're not able to refine it. That is why Russia is exporting more crude than refined thing, because that's what I covered in the beginning also. Yeah, I have always wondered why India went way behind China in developing technology like solar, etc. When we had the talent. Look, our country is a conservative country. It's not like China where everything happens super fast. Because in China, Xi Jinping says, do this, every fellow will do it. He says, don't do it, every fellow will not do it. As much as China has progressed, it has regressed also. I've been talking of it. So they're not a bigger this thing. Yeah, at this point of time, they have some advantages. but we have more advantages. Let me tell you this. We have far more advantages than what China has at this time. And I'll talk of it tomorrow. I'll talk of China tomorrow. Our PM handled COVID successfully. Hope he'll handle this crisis. Don't worry, I'm sure. Yeah, I heard Shriya here say that China and Russia control IRGC and the mullahs are just puppets. And I think he's right. Then all the best to you, yeah. I don't subscribe to his theory. We must understand Mr. Shriya here is a media person, an engineer with a media person who's basically an engineer. Oh, if he was that big an expert, why should we go on his show and talk also? Okay, na? I'll tell you tomorrow where China is. China is in a absolute pickle at this point of time. Okay, China is against Iran. Let me put the cart before the horse. China is against Iran. You have to understand geopolitics. Yeah. Yeah, Saudi Arabia gave Iranian personal military non grata. Yeah, they did. So there's a problem there. And that problem you have to understand in the Chinese context. Yeah. Ukraine attacked oil in Primorsk. They are now trying to force a solution. See, there are billiard ball effects going on all this. Yeah. Regime collapse will happen once they run out of ammunition. I have no doubt about it, but let's see how things go. Right? Very apt cartoon. As we grow big, Indians need to learn to take jolts with Israel as a model. Yeah, we have to. No, we also have taken a lot of jolts. Remember this. As a country, we have taken a lot of jolts to be where we are. And our jolts have been long-standing and bigger, whether it's the Khalistan issue, or the JNK issue, or the Northeast issue, or the Naxal left-wing extremism, or the disasters which we have faced. I mean, don't underrate the disasters. Latur earthquake, super cyclones. I mean, many of you have not gone through it. I have gone through some of them. They are horrible. This is just in 30 days, 40 days after this, it will finish. We've gone through years of this problem, and we'll talk of it one of these days. Okay? We'll talk of this. Okay. Controlling the Karg Island, easier said than done. It will not happen. Don't worry. How will taking out the power stop Iran from firing missiles? Oh, it's just that it's political pressure. That's all. This is not militarily related. It is political. Can USA occupy the small islands by destroying all water resources and cutting off their water supply to the islands? Look, all you have to go is go and occupy the islands. Yesterday also I explained to you how it can be done. Those islands are sitting in the middle of channels. You control those islands and sit on them, then you control the channels. Okay, it's not very great. That is within the capacity of USA, and that's what I would do. Yeah, guys, like and hit and share. If you like this, please press the thumb button and share this video. Also, subscribe to Gunner Shot. Let me see if there are any other questions. Yeah, India must secure our energy facilities because Iran can't be trusted. I agree with you. At this point of time, you can't trust Iran. But at the same time, Iran has trust in you. Remember that. Make use of that. Okay. Let me see any other questions. Venezuela oil is not as good as Gulf countries oil. I agree with you. You have a point. It's difficult, but we have the refineries made for that. One of the Indian oil refineries and the Jamnagar refineries can handle that oil. Yeah, after buying expensive crude oil, can India profit by selling refined oil to? Yeah, we can. That's the point. That's what gives us resilience, because today you are a refining superpower, if I might say. Your refining capacity today is at a premium, and that you have to use. Yeah, if war extends for a week, would that become what could be the biggest weakness setbacks for Iran and America? Look, this is a battle of attrition. Whether it finishes in 1 day, 10 days, 15 days, they're going to attrit themselves. America might lose face and nothing more. Iran will lose everything. That's the problem. Million factories closing all over India, they'll all reopen. Don't worry. Yeah. Do you think Venezuela op was done prior to this war with so-called super weapon use? No, no, yaar, ye sab, don't worry. All this is not there. They did it with special ops. That was something different. That whole story is different. Okay. Right. Is there any question worth it? Yeah, it is high time you raise the price of Gunnershot membership, because the knowledge being transferred here is worth 10 times. Ashish, I'm not interested in money. Yeah? Please. That money which you give goes to some good people. When I need money more, I'll raise the membership. And I would, yeah, left to me, I don't want any members. I just want you people to subscribe and listen and hear. And, you propagate this knowledge to everyone. Knowledge is best when it is shared. Take it now. When it is shared. Open source knowledge is shared. But I know open source knowledge is not believed in our country, anywhere. It's human nature. Oh, I'm here not to make money. There are people who talk nonsense. Many of us go and listen to them and get convinced about the rot they are talking, which has got a whole lot of bias in that. I'm not for such kind of, and they make money. And they have told me, many people have told me, sir, ये कर लो ना, पैसा मिलेगा. क्या करोगे यार? Remember, I'm a little philosophical. When I go up, I don't take money. We go ashes to ashes, dust to dust. When I've seen enough in life, money is the last thing in my life I need anymore. And I live well. Will the Arab world change for the better? Let's see how it happens. Let's see. There's more time to go. There's not time for prediction. Didn't Iraq declare force majeure? Force majeure क्या है? वो क्या कर सकता है? वो किसके साथ है? He's under sanctions. Force majeure doesn't count for him. Chinese will not fight a war, no. But we'll talk of this tomorrow. It's not that they'll not fight a war. Yeah. Thanks for the noon podcast. As always, all wonderful. Look, noon podcast doesn't suit me. Today because I had to go out, I came back and I said I must finish every day if I'm here. We'll return back to morning. Morning is better. Have you watched Dhurandhar 2? I have not been able to get the time to watch Dhurandhar 2, but I'll go. What is the future of BRICS currency? There's no future of BRICS currency. BRICS का currency नहीं है तो future कहाँ आएगा उसका? And I don't think India should ever get into a BRICS currency, which is where China is involved. Just forget it. Yeah, politico-military fusion, amazing. We need it. That's my hope. Politico-military fusion. Yeah, I follow Gunner Shot and Peer. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Actually, you should watch a few other channels so that you get an idea as to how much rotten stuff they talk there. Now that the GCC have been hit and they will have to allot their resources for rebuilding, will proxy funding come down? It will. They don't have that much money left. As simple as that. If Trump leaves the job unfinished or backs out sooner, what do you think will be left of American credibility with the GCC countries? Whether the credibility is there or not, if USA leaves the Gulf, Iran will take that over. So USA will not leave. Don't look. You have to operate in a real world. Many of you, when you ask such questions, you are living in a theoretical world. वो भाग जाएगा, वो ये होगा, वो होगा, कोई नहीं भागेगा. देखो. Okay. Okay. I think we have done for that day. Thanks a lot for your super sticker trade links. Yeah. How should India align military strategy with economic reliance, resilience? We are already at it. We already at it. Don't worry. We already at it. Our military is completely aligned with our economy, so don't worry about it. Do you think Frankenstein is being revived in Ukraine? Oh yeah, that fellow's like Frankenstein. Anyway, have a great time, and thanks for all of you to attend this who have attended it. And we'll meet at 8 o'clock in the evening. This is going to continue. It's going to, right? Very interesting times ahead. Till then, have a great time and Jai Hind to all of you.